Hi everyone, welcome back to Nick's Diecast. In today's video, I'll be showing you and reviewing this 1/18 scale 2002 Saturn Vue made by Autoart. I got this model off of eBay for $50 in total, including shipping and everything. This was actually from the same seller that I got my 1/18 scale 2002 Saturn 3-door coupe from. And that one, as most of you know, did unfortunately arrive. I'm pretty extensively damaged, but this one, however, came absolutely mint. Like the box and everything was perfect. The model was in perfect shape. So if you haven't already seen my unboxing of this model, make sure you go ahead and check that out. I'll link that video in the description or in the comments section. And you can find this model on eBay for usually between $25 and $100. There's this version you see here in orange, as well as a gold version. And there's an older version of the model, which is what I have, that was originally released as a Saturn dealer promo. And there's a newer version in an Autoart brand box that has some more fine details like carpeting on the interior and buttons on the interior that are painted on. But you will see kind of a wide range of prices depending on whether or not the model comes with its original box and the overall condition of the model as well. But this model is no longer being made. This was one of Autoart's first models. They released this particular model back in 2001 in order to kind of promote the launch of the real-life Saturn Vue. And these were sold actually in Saturn dealership locations. And then eventually it would become available for general retail sale a year or two later. A fair bit of these were given to customers of the real Saturn Vue. And aside from that, people could buy this model from Saturn parts departments at Saturn dealerships. So the Saturn Vue was first introduced in 2001 for the 2002 model year and was Saturn's first entry in the SUV segment. The first generation Vue would be produced from 2001 until 2007 with a facelift for 2006. The second generation Vue would be produced from 2008 until 2010. It had a relatively brief run because Saturn actually closed down after 2010. The second gen Vue was based off the Opel Antara. It would actually live on as the Chevrolet Captiva Sport from 2011 through 14. But I personally prefer the first gen Vue over the second gen Vue. And this model, I think, is definitely a good representation of that particular vehicle, for sure, as we'll kind of see when we go throughout the review here. The original dealer edition promotional model version of this model only came in the orange that you see here. And if you watch my unboxing, you'll see what I mean by the dealer edition version of the model. Basically, it came in kind of a more Saturn branded box, and the box was orange as opposed to the traditional Autoart gray and black that they would be kind of using in later years. So I think, in general, this model is very well done and would kind of set the stage for what the Autoart brand would be doing in terms of kind of more fine detailed 1/18 scale cars throughout the 2000s and into the 2010s. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the details of the model. We'll begin up here with the front. I think Autoart did a good job with the overall look and shape of the Saturn Vue here. And from a distance, it really does look like a very well-made model. I think the original retail price was around the same price that I bought mine at, around $50 or so. Back to the overall look and shape of the model, I think it looks great. The proportions, I think, are well done. And I would say it definitely is true 1/18 scale as well. In the front here, you definitely have some nice detailing with the headlights. There are no pegs to be seen, which is kind of interesting to see, because a lot of times even for slightly more upper end models, you will see at least one peg, but you don't really see that here. These are actually bulbs or light bulbs. They're not pegs. So I think they did a good job with those. You have kind of the iconic narrow rectangular shaped headlights that Saturn was kind of known for in their earlier years of making cars from the 1990s into the 2000s. And you also get these lower fog lights down here too. They're also kind of done as separately cast plastic pieces. Autoart, I think, did a good job with those. And then you have a separately cast lower plastic front bumper down here as well. You can even see some detailing with that grill back there too. No perforations or anything, but the mesh is so fine, I think it would be kind of hard to replicate that on the model, so I think they did a good job nonetheless. Then you have that Saturn badge up here too. You can very clearly read Saturn on there. It is embossed on there and not a sticker, which is awesome to see. Paint quality on the model, I would say, is excellent. The orange looks fantastic. It has a metallic finish to it. The gold version will also look very well done. There's no, rough areas or orange peel or any remote defects at all on this paint job, I would say, for sure. Nice and smooth throughout. You have kind of that nice glossy clear coat finish over top of the metallic finish, and it just looks fantastic, I would say, for sure. Taking a look next at the side of the model, Autoart, I think, did a good job with capturing the look and shape of these wheels. These are kind of the standard wheel choice you could get on the Saturn Vue, at least as far as the 2002 to 2005 versions went. I forget the exact dimensions, but I think they did a good job with kind of capturing the look and shape of them here. Now, there might be a Saturn badge present on the real wheels, but I'm not totally sure on that. But I think aside from that, they did a good job with capturing the look and shape of these wheels and tires here. You do get steering on the model. It's actually a pretty good steering, nice and tough. No, there is no suspension though, but the Autoart brand is not usually known for putting suspension on their models, but they definitely, I think, make up for that with all the fine detail they put into their cars. On the fender, you got the Saturn badge on here, and that's also present on the other side of the car as well, and you can also read the Saturn inscription on there too. It looks very well done. All the cladding is done in separately cast plastic pieces along with that rear bumper back there. Kind of similar texture to what you would see on the real Vue. And you have nicely done side mirrors on the model as well. They're kind of a matte plastic finish like you would see on the real vehicle. And you also get separately cast plastic door handles on here as well. They're actually nice and sturdy. Sometimes on these 1/18 scale models, if you have the separately cast door handles, they tend to be a bit loose, but nope, on here they're nice and tight, which is nice to see. You do also get a sunroof on the model as well. And you also get rear window tinting on here too. I kind of like that attention to a detail right there. They could have just made all the windows kind of completely clear, but similar to the real Vue, all the backmost windows are tinted as kind of like a privacy for whatever you have kind of stored in the back there. So that's a cool touch. And you don't get side windows on the front doors, but that I think just makes them simpler to open, so I don't really care about that too much. Speaking of the back and the windows and everything, you do get a rear wiper that does look a bit too small for the car. Same goes for the wipers in the front. So at least they kind of made an effort with making all three wipers as separately cast plastic pieces, but they're definitely a bit, I think, on the small side as far as like proportions go, but not a big deal. You can see back here you do have the Saturn inscription kind of engraved into that plastic portion above the license plate frame. And then you have the nicely cast handle down here too for the rear hatch. You also have some nice texture on the rear bumper as well as these two lights down here. The taillights are also very well done, I would say. No pegs to be seen in those. And they are nice and flush with the metal body, which is nice to see. There is actually no badging back here. If this were the real Saturn Vue, you would of course see the Vue inscription right there and then something else. I think some of the versions that have all-wheel drive will say AWD, things like that, but Autoart didn't put those badges back here. But I don't think that's a big deal per se. It would have been nice to kind of see like that little Vue inscription back there, but they didn't put that on there. But not a big deal, I don't think. In terms of opening features, you actually do get the opening rear hatch back here, which opens up like so. You have a decent amount of trunk space back here, which is what you would of course see on the real Saturn Vue as well. There's no carpeting back here, but if you do get a newer version of this model, then you will get felt carpeting. You do have kind of a nice texture back here with the plastic though, and there is some different detailing like these latches and everything too. These I think would open up on the real vehicle, and there's like some storage underneath there and stuff. And then you have kind of that lined pattern where the hatch door meets the base of the trunk. And then you have some nice texturing where the wheel wells are and other aspects too. And you actually do get a full headliner on this model too. And all the different areas between each of the pillars is covered with plastic as well. Autoart didn't just leave it as bare metal. They actually do put in a full headliner and full trim for the interior, which does look very well done. And you do have some nice detailing underneath the hatch as well. We'll go ahead and close that up. You also get an opening hood on the model as well. Now the hood doesn't stay open, at least as far as mine goes, and I have seen a few videos of this same model where people are holding up the hood. I can't get it to open up any wider. I don't want to force it or anything. I think on the newer versions of the model, this problem was actually sorted out and the hoods do open up wider and do stay up. But at least as far as my older version goes, you're just going to have to deal with me, I guess, holding up the hood. But the detailing on the engine, I would say, is actually pretty well done, I would say. There's multiple three-dimensional plastic components in there. You can see kind of the different components of the engine you would see if this were the real vehicle. You have some different coloring and stuff going on in there. I'm not sure which engine this is modeled after. The Saturn Vue, I think, came with at least 2 different options for the engines that they had. I know 3 different transmission options, so I assume there was 3 different engine options. And then in later years, they actually included engine parts from Hondas, I think from 2005 and onward. So they were actually known for even more increased reliability after that model year, because they had the Honda engine parts in there. But the engine detailing, I would say, as far as the Autoart model goes, is pretty well done. You know, you can see all the way down to the bottom. There's a few different kind of separately cast plastic pieces going on in there. I think some more fine detailing definitely would have been welcome, but I think as far as a $50 model goes, they definitely didn't do a bad job in here. And you actually do get some paint on the underside of the hood. They didn't just leave it as like an undersprayed look, so that is nice to say. But not really too much to say aside from that. It is just kind of hard to see in there because the hood won't open up wider than that, unfortunately. But what you can see of the engine, I think Autoart did a good job with. We'll close that up. And of course, you also have opening front doors on this model as well. The hinges are spring-loaded / dogleg hinges, so they open up pretty wide, and they also feel very sturdy at the same time, so that's nice to see. Now, the interior detailing on this model, I would say, is fairly well done. If you get a newer version of the Saturn Vue model, you are going to have carpeting on the interior, in addition to having a Saturn badge on the steering wheel, and all the buttons are going to be painted on the center stack. But on the older original versions of this model, you will have a fair bit of detail, but you won't really see as much fine detailing as far as colored in buttons and other similar details go. But I think what you see here is pretty well done. All the different buttons and everything you would see on the real Saturn Vue are definitely replicated well. They're just not really colored in. You can see the different HVAC controls as well as the radio unit and some different buttons between the radio unit and the HVAC knobs, but they're not really colored in, as I already said. You do have some nice detailing with the shifter as well. The area is the right size and shape and everything. There just isn't really any painted on details there. And the dashboard is the proper kind of 3-tone look or 3-color look. I don't really know how to say it. Like where the center stack is black, and then you have kind of the darker beige upper portion of the dashboard, and then you have kind of the lower portion and seats and glove box done in kind of a lighter beige. There is a nice texture going throughout, and I think the vents are also kind of nicely molded on there. And the steering wheel, I would say, is definitely the right size and shape and everything too, compared to the real life Saturn Vue. There would, of course, be a Saturn badge in the center of that steering wheel if this were the real vehicle. And you also have nice detailing on the door panels as well. Not so much in terms of fine detailing, but as far as the look and shapes of the door panels go, Autoart, I think, did a decent job on those. These seats, I would say, are definitely well done. They are the right size and shape and everything, and they have kind of a nice smooth pattern on them as well. You can see that Autoart even molded on the armrests on here as well. Of course, you can't actually move the armrests, but at least they mold them on there. And the back seat is also well done too. Those headrests are very small, but the real Saturn Vue actually has those small headrests. I was kind of surprised to see that, but I think in general they did do a good job with the seats. But definitely some more fine detail I think would have been welcome in many areas of this model, but the Autoart brand was just starting out in 2001 when this model was actually made, so certain details aren't going to be there, but you would see added on later releases of both this model and on other models that the brand was making at the time. So we'll go ahead and close these up. They're a bit hard to close, but mine was never taken out of the box in like 22 plus years, so they're going to be a little bit stiff for a while. I don't plan on having this model out on the shelf much and not opening up the doors that much to kind of preserve it more, I suppose. But and the model is also very heavy and sturdy too. I did forget to mention that. Undercarriage detailing, there is a fair bit going on down here. You can see some of the engine detailing down here is done in silver, and the entire exhaust system is also done in silver, as opposed to chrome like you would see on other similar die-cast models. But aside from that, not really a whole lot to see down there. But I think Autoart did do a decent job in that sense. This is definitely, I think, a unique model, both in terms of Saturn diecast models, the Autoart brand's like history, I suppose, and in terms of 1/18 scale promotional dealer edition models in general. If you can find this model, I would say definitely get it if you can find it for a good price. If you're paying upwards of $100 for it, make sure that you're getting either a version in very good condition or a version that has all that extra fine detailing, like the carpeting and all the different button details and whatnot. But most times I've seen this model listed on eBay. The prices are pretty unreasonable. I would say that if you can find it for around the $40 to $60 price range, regardless of what release model it is, but as long as the model is in good condition and everything, I would say definitely get it. It's definitely a unique model that you're definitely not going to see remade ever, I don't think, which is unfortunate. But definitely, I think a unique model to have in general. So if you're a fan of Saturns or SUVs or just models of everyday cars in 1/18 scale, or in the case of me, if you're into dealer edition models, I think this would definitely be a good addition to your collection. So feel free to comment down below with your thoughts on this model. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.